You're
It's
in my
fine.
kitchen. This is my. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is?
Oh
So I
yeah,
made
Nightmare on
a
Elm Street.
yeah, I made an indie movie about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and it was a long story. It's actually an interesting story for screenwriters.
Oh,
Do you want to
okay.
hear it?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you
Go
want to
ahead.
hear it?
Yes.
You make. Okay, so like you,
Hmm.
I make a lot of or used to make a lot of short films and a lot of supernatural short films. I know you made a slasher short. I make kind of ghost stories, and I don't have much money, many resources, but I've made sort of four or five over the years. And one of them did really, really well. It went viral about God Almighty, 9 years ago, right? 2017. It was called Floor 9.5.
Okay.
And the star of this short, it's only 2 minutes long, was an actress called Georgina Campbell, who was in Barbarians recently, and is sort of in all sorts of. She's won like a BAFTA for a really great BBC drama over here, but she's also now sort of making lots of horror movies, which is
Mm,
amazing. And she was in our short, and it went viral. Long story short, it was a commission from Fox, who were making Halloween tie-in shorts, branded
mm.
Halloween tie-in shorts that they were going to put out on the FX network and kind of ambush people. And the tie-in for ours was Skittles. Now, our short, if you see it, Floor 9.5, has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with Skittles, but it didn't matter. They just put it out in an ad break on Fox when I think there was like a baseball game or something on, and then said, buy Skittles this Halloween at the end of it. And it went viral, and there were complaints, and there were people saying it was the most terrifying thing they'd ever seen, and all this. It was fantastic, and we got quite a lot of heat from it. We were approached about what did we want to do, and what we wanted to do was make a short form TV series because we thought that would be a really cool way of telling a ghost story. Because one of my big issues with ghost stories is I find them really boring as soon as human agency and motivation kicks in, right? As soon as we're talking about what the ghost wants, I kind of can figure that out. It's I'm going to get like 5 minutes before the end of the movie. Now I'm going to find out what the ghost wants, right? I find things scary that I don't understand, that I can't reason with, that don't fit into my comprehension. So we had this pitch for this cursed 80s video game movie called, sorry, a TV show, which was 60 minutes long in duration. And it was called Cursor. It was like a text-based, 80s adventure game with a curse in
Hmm.
it. It was about a modern day hacker who finds it, and there's an unclaimed crack cash prize and all this stuff. And we sold this thing to Quibi, which was coming around. You ever heard of that? Did you hear about it? It was Jeffrey Katzenberg's short-lived short form platform.
I heard about
And
it like
and
around.
yeah, we were one of the projects. We had Ridley Scott. It was absolutely amazing. Took
Yeah.
us a year to get in, through the development cycle. By which point Quibi had gone bankrupt, right? So it was
Yeah.
kind so we were there 2 days before they went, or whatever it was. The whole thing fell apart. COVID happened, and then during COVID, the producers said, "You know what? I put all the little episodes you wrote that added up to about 70 minutes of screen time, right?
Hmm.
And it works as a movie." And I was like, "I don't think it really does work as a movie. It was designed to be short form, like the peaks and troughs, the rhythms. It was not the same. That was the whole point." Anyway, I took a look at it, and it was kind of okay, and it kind of works. I did like another 10 pages, 15 pages of work on it, and we made it for a very, very low budget between the lockdowns in 2021, and we sold it to Netflix, who promptly retitled it and called it Choose or Die. So it's on there right now if you want to have a look. But we cast various different people. This is a very long story. I promise everything else I say will be much more succinct. We cast amongst an amazing cast, Asa Butterfield and Eddie Marsan. We cast Robert Englund as the voice of the game, right? Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
And so this was a wrap gift, and I'm going to have to lift you to show it. And I finally got my kitchen fixed, right, about a year ago. And
Yeah.
this is one of my favorite things that I had from a production. So it was a wrap gift because he knew I loved it. Can you see? It
Oh
says there,
wow, that's so dope.
it's photographed, and it says, what is it? Can you read it? This is God, Freddie. And then over
This
here
is
we
God.
have
Yeah.
the Simon
Simon.
Sweet Dreams. It's one of my
Yeah.
prized possessions. So there you go. Boring
That's
story. Sorry, bad start.
hey, hey, that poster is dope. That's a dope. That's a dope one. That's real good. That's real
Oh,
good. Yeah. So I'm guessing you watched the short films I sent you. I didn't think you did.
I watched the slasher. I haven't had to, we're in production still on season 4 of the show that you've got the poster for behind you. So time is short, but I will watch the rest. I think it's great. I think you're on. I mean, tell me a bit about you because I mean, you did when we first sort of started talking on Instagram, but you're making shorts like I did, right? And you're
Yeah, I started off with a web series. It was a thriller web series. I didn't know what the hell I was doing in that one. I just wrote it, and then I was gonna have one of my friends direct it, but every time we got on set, she would ask me, "So how do you want to shoot this?" So I'm just like, "Oh,
right.
okay. I guess I gotta direct this or something like that." So that was a 5 episode one, and then after that, then I did shorts. I started doing shorts, thinking I was gonna make money off of shorts. It took me a while to after I made them all, then I realized that, shorts are probably not going to be the way to go and stuff like that. So I made 5 short films, Homecoming, I'm Not Kevin Hart, First Dates, Meet My Family, and the slasher one, Fear the Dark. That Fear the Dark one, that was my DP. He's that made all my short films. He's a horror fan, and I'm not a horror fan at all. So I said, I'll make you one because he didn't charge me a lot of money to make all these films and to edit them and stuff. So I said I'll make you one as a thank you to you and stuff like that. It wasn't scary. It was just more like a slasher, like you said. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not really a big
It's
horror fan.
fun.
Yeah, but
It's
I
fun.
enjoyed.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. We enjoyed making it. I enjoyed making it. And then after that, then I teamed up with a filmmaker, an indie filmmaker here in Charlotte. He's like I call him like my film school because I learned so much about directing working with him. We wrote a comedy series called Roommates, and he directed all 5 episodes of that one. I just helped write and produced and I did the lead role in that one. But then I realized that okay, I got to make a feature. So the first thing was I made a short film of a spy thriller, but then when I showed it to people, they're like, "Oh, this has got to be a feature film. You can't just make this into a short." So now I had to raise money, go into my savings, and do the crowdfunding and all that kind of stuff. And then I made the feature, which is Killer Sinners and Spies. And so yeah, so that's been my journey so far. Right now, it
So
seems
when
that
did that come out? Is that out now? Sorry, I'm just
it's
going to plug my ad booking because it's dying.
yeah,
Have you
it's
released that or
No, not yet. Not yet. I've not released that
right?
yet. So right now, I'm kind of debating whether I need to go through a distributor and try to get it out, but there's just so much hassle dealing with distributors as an independent filmmaker, and you've got limited funds and stuff like that. So my friends are telling me like, maybe go YouTube and then you control the release, you control all the everything you can, so it seems like that's probably going to be the way forward. So I'm looking hopefully maybe like the first week or so in May. So at least gives
Right.
me a couple of months to like really promote this on my own and all that kind of stuff. So that that's going to be released in May hopefully. And then I've already started writing
And kind
this.
of
Excuse
video on
me.
demand kind of thing. Video
Well,
on
just
demand kind of thing.
nah, just YouTube. Just put it out there on
Free.
YouTube.
You're going
Yeah,
to release it for free.
for
Oh
free and
wow.
just
Okay.
and just try to see if I can get the views there and stuff like that. I thought of video on demand, like on Vimeo. But the thing was, I tried that with one of my short films years ago. It just I didn't get anything. I got maybe just a family paid for it and stuff like that. It was just
Yeah.
too much. Here's the thing: what I've started to learn as an independent filmmaker, when you don't have any name, if people have to go through so many loops to watch your film, like they got to sign up for this, then put their card in for this and pay for this, they're just going to get turned off. If you're not Brad
Yeah.
Pitt or Denzel Washington where they can make that effort to pay for stuff. So you want to make things
Yeah.
as easy as possible for them, especially if you don't have a name and you don't have a fan base like that. So I figured maybe YouTube will probably be the best option to just put it out
I
there
mean,
so that
it's in. I love the fact you're doing this because it reminds me a lot of, how I started, and I think it's always been tough, and you're absolutely right to get traction for anything in the online space. It was
Mhm.
difficult 10 years ago, and it's difficult now. If I think about the thing I love the most that I made independently. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, by the way, but because the budget limits show, right? Quite a lot,
Hmm.
but I love it still. I love it. I love it as much as anything I've made with like huge resources and so on. I'm very proud of it, but nobody's seen it, right? It's
Hmm.
online, but nobody's seen it. It's a kind of pilot or attempted pilot for a version of a kind of old school British children's supernatural series, right? Like the most niche thing you could imagine making independently. We did it with a Doctor Who actor, an actor who played Doctor Who, and I just completely adore it. But nobody's seen it. The things that people have seen, the three horror shorts in particular. Two of them, we went down the sort of Vimeo route of trying to get a Vimeo staff pick, and they did do numbers, and one of them did get optioned for feature treatment with not with me writing at that time, but with somebody else, and then nothing happened. But the one I described that led to Robert Englund and the Netflix movie, that one it was massively helped by the fact that they broadcast it. They put it out on cable TV or whatever Fox was in 2017.
Hmm.
And they put it out on multiple channels. And then because of the reaction that got, it went viral on what was called Twitter and is now called X or whatever the hell it's called.
Hmm.
And got lots of interest. So it is that thing, isn't it? It's heat. How do you launching sort of pre-summer, early summer's good, I think, online. But you're thinking along the right lines. It's how do you get traction? How do you get eyeballs? How do you get heat? How do you get people talking about it? How do you let them know it's even there in the first place? It's the perennial challenge for it's the challenge that all film and television faces anyway now. There's just, if you're with a network or a buyer or distributor, you've got more assets, more weaponry available to you. But listen, remember, there's plenty of super well financed, like expensive TV dramas and movies that get released that no one ever fucking watches. So it's kind of,
Exactly.
so it's,
I
yeah.
have been trying so hard to get people to watch Tehran. I'm telling them that this is one of the best spy thrillers out there. I remember watching that first season and I'm just like, this is so real life. Like it's like I can see this happening in real life. And it's all, coincidentally, you know, some of it mirrors what happened, just recently within the region and stuff like that. So I'm going to use that as the piggy of all your interest is in mostly horror and all that kind of stuff. So how did you get on Tehran to start writing Tehran? Like,
A
what's
good question.
yeah,
So, do you want candid answers like that give you you want not kind of sanitized answers? So the,
no,
the
give me the
candid
real,
answer is that
give me the real.
well, it's interesting when we started talking. I was praising your slasher film, which is the one piece of your work that I've had time to watch, and I will watch more. I promise. I'm very intrigued by what you're doing. I'm very impressed by what you're doing.
I appreciate that.
Um, so I took you for a horror director because I'd watched that one shot, and you said to me, "You love horror. Why? How did you get onto horror?" I do love horror. I love lots of things. Part of, I mean, this is a bigger debate, but it's worth you hearing this. I think, given the short conversations we've had prior to this one.
Mhm.
The UK television and film industry is quite elitist, and there's quite a lot of barriers to entry for all kinds of people. One of the biggest barriers to entry, and we know this through all kinds of data and evidence, and it's true of several institutions and industries in the UK, is financial, it's socioeconomic. And mostly the history of British TV and film is people born into power and privilege recycling that power and privilege amongst themselves and people like them. A bit of an interloper. I was a care system kid in the UK. I was a teenage parent. I was pure chaos. And how I ended up in the industry is a whole complex thing that I won't bore you with right now. But one of the net effects of not being one of those people from that background, from, where mum and dad are wealthy, where you went to private school, where you never worried about having a roof over your head, where you were brought up to believe that you could have your pick of any profession and any opportunity, as opposed to thinking most things weren't for you because they
Mhm.
weren't and aren't, is that you take when you get opportunity, you grab it. You just do anything you can possibly do. You're grateful for everything. So there's this kind of superciliousness, this snobbery, and I think it's true in America to some extent as well, where people look back over a career and IMDb credits, and the guys that have got 6 or 7 credits with 4 year gaps, and everything is like a Showtime series or a BBC One, for limited 4 part literary adaptation or something based on a play or based on their play. 99% of those people are all the same kind of person from the same kind of background who have the socioeconomic latitude and the cultural confidence to just sit back and not worry about money, right? And not
Yeah.
worry about having a job, all of that. So if you look at my IMDb, there's shows on there that people said to me, "Oh, don't do that show. That's not cool, or that's not." They were snobs about it. But I was so grateful for any opportunity. I'm proud of every single thing I've worked on. I've always had an enthusiasm for horror, always had an enthusiasm for thrillers, but and I've done all kinds of different things. And it's only really in the last 3 to 4 years, maybe since post-COVID, that I've had some degree of socio-economic latitude to pick and choose a little bit more. And so when the short, that's a long way of explaining some background and some context, which might be interesting just in terms of how things definitely work here. And you don't have to take my word for it. I can send you links to the data. But the Tehran came about because as part of this kind of like finally finding the confidence to develop my own shows, my own voice, and take my time the way that like, much later in life, compared to others. I was working on a show for a major UK broadcaster that was greenlit. It was 5 episodes. I'd written most of them. It was about a very important subject that I care about deeply. I spent 2 years on it, and then it was suddenly ungreenlit because the people
Mm,
that were in charge of that particular broadcaster switched around. And a friend of mine, Tony Saint, who's an absolutely amazing British writer, I can't tell you what he's working on now because it's not been really anyway. He's working on a major show somewhere else at the moment. He'd been brought on to Tehran by Dana Eden and Daniel Sirkin, who are the sort of key creative on it, on seasons 1 and 2, and on seasons 3 and 4. And he said, "Oh, we worked together before. Do you want to come and write an episode of Tehran?" So like you, I didn't know anything about it, and I watched season 1, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I couldn't believe the first sort of 20 minutes of that pilot. It was utterly arresting. Told me things about the world that I'd never considered or been exposed to before. Couldn't believe how beautifully it was directed, how completely immersive, and that's Daniel Sirkin, who's a genius. Um, and so I said, "Yeah, I'll write an episode." And it was partly the enthusiasm I had for the show, and partly, to be honest, the fact that I'd planned the next 3 years of my life making this other show, and this one here, Tehran season 3, was getting made, and it was just the joy of making something again, right? Because the time
mm,
goes by and nothing happens for a while. And bit by bit, working on season 3, I got more and more involved in it creatively with Tony, with Danny, and Dana, and ended up writing. I think I wrote three. I'm credited with 3 of the 8 episodes on season 3. I think the episode coming out tomorrow is one of mine, but I'm also credited on every episode because I did work on all of them to some extent. And so the short answer, that's how it happened. And then we got shouting. I'm sorry, I'm hyper because I've been on meetings all day. And then we got a green light for season 4 as we were finishing season 3 in 2023. Then world events took over. So there was a delay on the release of season 3. It's only just come out internationally, and also a delay on season 4. And that delay, that production delay, was really about trying to find a story that felt meaningful and resonant, given the scale and pace of world events, which I think we've done on season 4. I'm really, really proud of it. So anyway, was that any good? Did that make any sense?
that made every sense. That made a lot of sense because
Okay.
the thing for me is that I've always just been mostly interested in just doing film. I Because my thought process was like, okay, I know that for you to get into television, you probably have to you have to probably watch a show and then maybe an episode, write an episode, just a spec episode, and then obviously the producer just want to know that you know the show and you know the theme, the pacing, the plot, the characters, and everything like that. And then you can get onto the staff, the writing, the staff room or the writing room, the writers room, and become one of the staff writers. Or you start off as the staff writer, and then you move up the chain of command. Or I've heard
Mm.
something like, you got to get a manager, an agent, and then you just write, maybe 2 spec pilot series that you might have an idea for, and then you present that to them, and then they see like, okay, this is the type of writer you are. You probably will be good for this show that's just about to start, or maybe you can plug you into a show like Tehran that's already on. Is that kind of like how it goes, either one of them, or is it doesn't really matter?
Well, firstly, I'm really enjoying this. Well, I'm really enjoying this conversation because I'm enjoying the honesty of the questions, and I hope you're enjoying my attempt at candor in my answers.
Yeah, yeah,
Also,
I
I want to
do.
say to you that I do have a tendency. I have ADHD and I have all sorts of, so I tend to ramble. So if I'm going on too much, just do a timeout and I'll shut up and you can pivot.
It's okay. Trust me.
But I mean, yeah, there's no, I'll tell you what, there's really only one or two routes and I think this is true in the States. It's less true in the States, I think, actually, but certainly in the UK, there's really only, there were one or two routes into this that will always be there and always have been there. And those are the routes I described, 10 minutes ago, where somebody's parents already work in the industry, somebody is already part of live in London, and they're part of a sort of cultural establishment where these kinds of opportunities come effortlessly. And it's why you get, if you read books about British television from the last 40 years, you'll often see like playwrights, people who've sort of been on the Royal Court or whatever, talking about, oh, and then I thought I would go to television as if it's beneath them, right? As if it's
Mm.
like a, and it's so that culture is unquestionably still there and unquestionably still the major architecture of most things in Britain in terms of sort of cultural, institutions, which television is one. In terms of the other ways in, that's where you get real variety and like how the hell does it happen for anyone else? My own journey was quite chaotic and delayed because of my background and the chaos of my life. What you describe in terms of sample scripts and spec episodes and all of this, that I'm not aware of that ever happening in the UK, or successfully at least. I mean, I've seen on Twitter when I was on it, when it was called Twitter when I was still on it,
Hmm.
and I wasn't really on it. I just looked. Um, on there, I did see some American writers talk who were trying to get into the UK because the American market's quite tough and has been for some time. Were writing spec episodes of British shows, and it just doesn't. That's not that. I've never heard of that getting a response and getting anyone into a room. Also, here we don't really have rooms in the way that they do or did in the States, and we
Hmm.
don't really have that sort of staff. Right? We've all made various attempts at doing it and replicating it, but truthfully what tends to happen here is it gets built around the key creative voice, however they want to work, whether it's me or it's somebody else. And then it's really incumbent on you as a writer to fit in with that and deal with that. I think the best road in the UK for anyone who isn't connected and wasn't born into immense wealth and opportunity. Sorry, I sound so bitter and twisted about that. I'm not. It's just the way it is. It's reality. Can't do anything
Yeah, it
about it.
is. It's reality. Yeah.
But unless we launch a revolution right now. No. But in terms of the way it goes now, the best bet is to read scripts, write things that inspire you, excite you. The structure here certainly, and I think it's the case in the States. I mean, yeah, managers in the States as well, you manager, lawyer, agent, etc. Here, an agent will suffice, and agents. It's pretty tough in the UK right now, but agents are still taking on clients. They're still reading people. It's still possible. And then it can be a very long process even after you have an agent to get your first opportunity. And I think one of the things that's a little bit different now to how it was when I first started getting opportunities. And my timeline on that varies, right? So technically speaking, in 2011, I got my first episode of British television, which was a kids show.
Hmm.
So that's going to be 15 years ago this summer. But I didn't quit my day job until 2015. I still kept a day job because I was so unsure of this, and also I couldn't risk relying on it. I still had a day job when I was working on a show called The Musketeers for the BBC, and it was
I
only
saw
that
that.
summer where we were working on the final season. My wife said to me, "You really are. You're okay now. It'll be okay." And I'm like, "I don't know that it will. This thing, you don't know how." And she went, "Just fucking quit."
Hmm.
So that level of insecurity is a real thing, and I think that the difference between then and now is that I think there are fewer episodic opportunities now than there were then. I think there's a greater conservatism. There was a moment where it felt like we were all very excited about opening doors and doing everything we could. I mean, I had a show for BBC America and I was able to bring people on who weren't getting opportunities that I think they deserved and warranted. And now it's tough. I think that is a lot tougher than it was. And I think that there has been a sort of a tendency for lead writers to write most of the episodes. So So, and that what that's created is this bizarre, I think it's bizarre anyway, situation where experience profile, you could start with profile and track record, right? If you've got track record and profile, my God, they want you, right? If
Mhm.
you don't have that, but you've got experience, okay, you've still got opportunity because it's a risk-averse business, and maybe they want someone to write an episode, work on a show, maybe they want you for this thing, and they kind of look and think, well, you're not going to lose your mind. You can cope with it, right? And then
Mhm.
beneath that, if you have neither of those things, now we're in a situation where I'm seeing young writers and new writers, not necessarily young, but new writers trying to break into British television, and because there's nowhere they can go and learn, and the equivalent of this might be in the States where there are very few writers' room opportunities. There's not really a lot of spare episodes going around where we're hiring and saying, let's bring someone new in and give them time and move them further. We used to do this, move them further down the schedule. So their episode's we're gonna shoot that later. So they've got more time to deal with the notes, to deal with all the challenges that you face in television development and production. Because that's gone, now I'm seeing a lot of people that sign up with an agent, and it's either they get a show greenlit by Netflix or they're done, right? And it's like it's completely insane to me.
Mhm.
I mean, it
Mhm.
happens once in a blue moon, but it's insane to hand, the responsibility for 8 episodes and millions of dollars, pounds, whatever, to somebody that has no experience, that hasn't done it before. I
Mhm.
think it's asking an awful lot of them.
Yeah.
It would be, I would crack, I would fail, and the price of failure now is higher than it's ever been, without doubt, as well, because we're in this conservative environment. So it's tough, but it's not impossible, right? And so I would never, ever, ever discourage anyone. In fact, quite the contrary. I think it's vital that people keep fighting and trying. I think independent production and hustling is exactly where I came from. It's exactly what I used to do and would go back to. And I love it. And it produces gems and it produces unexpected results sometimes. And again, it's not really where those guys that run the joint look, right? Because they've never had to do that. And there's a
Yeah.
great kind of advantage to the fact you get into this industry and you've done that and you come from that background. I think you have more resilience, you have more access, more insight into the real world. So yeah, I hope that answered.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, it did. It did. So considering that, so with Tehran, there's no writer's room. So you guys are working at home, and is there like a note that you get like, okay, this is where the show is supposed to go. Let's see what you can come up with, and then you guys just get on Zoom or something and just start comparing
You,
notes.
Do you want the honest? Do you want absolute honesty? Right. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I don't mind this. If you want to put this, this fine because I would say this. I have said this elsewhere. So we called it a writer's room, but it was really me, Tony Saint, Danny Serkin, the director, and Dana Eden, the producer, in a room in Camden in London. We did have another writer in there for a little while, but ultimately it just became us four. And in a way, that's the best version for that show. As I said to you, the nature of the creative team, it's shaped around a sort of key influence of voice. And I would say Danny Serkin, the way he shoots Tehran, and his sort of rule of thumb, and it can be, he won't mind me saying this, but it's quite tough sometimes because he has a very elliptical way of telling a story, which
Hmm.
is that everything is keyhole, everything is with Tamar on the ground in the moment. You don't get much context. You kind of discover it as she discovers it. And if we're going to do a twist, let's not waste a lot of energy and time on setup. Let's really try and pull off a twist that feels organic, but you know where you could see it coming from the evidence. You could just about work back if you did. So it sounds great, but it's really hard. And so season three with I mean, if you're watching it, you'll see and it really over the next 3 episodes escalates and goes to some very surprising places. Season four, same rule of thumb, very challenging. I mean, it made me into a really sharp thriller writer, I think, working on this show, because I've been sent projects since where they're trying to crack a way of executing a thriller plot or something. To me, it's nothing because I survived Tehran, right? But season four was a little more challenging because I've written 6 of the 8 episodes on season four because Tony Saint became unavailable. And also we went into production quite late because we were in development for nearly 2.5 years,
Mm.
and we were changing the story almost every week to try and find a resonance with world events, which I believe we've done now. And we got the green light and had to go into prep. and it was very chaotic. And really, if I was sensible, I would have brought in another writer to help me with the 6 episodes that were left to write. But it was one of those things where, and this might be another issue, um, it, the time it would have taken to explain to someone else where all the bodies were buried, why things were a certain way in season 3 and what we were building on from, because it's a heavily serialized show, Tehran. It was just quicker to do it all myself, And so right up until this Christmas just gone, literally up to about Christmas Eve, I was rewriting the finale of the season that we're filming now, that will come out in 2027.
Mm.
Yeah, it was quite tough. But listen, to be honest with you, at no point did I feel aggrieved or bitter, or unhappy about it, because I love what we do. I love telling stories, and I love making stories, making films, making television program. I love it. So it's always a joy. And I think if it stops being a joy, that's the moment where maybe you need to look at yourself. But so whatever the pressure, I mean, I'm talking, you know, definitely 18-hour days over Christmas, and I'm talking turning around entire drafts for Apple and for the production in like 24 hours or something. But if you talk to a hardened network veteran in America, they wouldn't even flinch at that. They would expect you to be able to do that. Whereas I think in the UK, the culture's a little bit different, and we think that can't be right. How can that happen? But it happens.
Wow, 18-hour days for just only you writing the host just one episode and getting that, trying to get that in. That's tough. That's tough. So basically it's just a small group of you guys meeting and talking through like, okay, this is what this season is gonna be about. This is where the story is gonna go and stuff like that. And then, you have a deadline and all that kind of stuff. Given that you're not from the spy world. I don't know if you're a spy or anything. You don't work for MI6 or anything like that.
Do I look and sound like I'd be a good spy? Come on.
Hey, listen, you need to watch my when you watch my film, you know where I'm coming from with that. But the thing
Okay.
is this though, what what's the background that you have to write something like this? Because you have to be as authentic as possible. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, it's a work of fiction,
Yeah.
so you can go anywhere you want to, but you still have to have some kind of like, okay, foundation. Like, okay, is this realistic? Does the Mossad behave this way?
Yeah.
Does the Iranian
Yeah.
Republican Guard, do they behave this way and stuff like that? Where do you guys get that
Yeah.
from? Do you have
Yeah.
like experts that you have to like call in
Yeah.
Iran or in Israel, or you just go by what
Yeah.
British intelligence in connections that you guys have that will tell you?
Well, Danny and Dana, who are just, I mean, everything about the show is so thorough and meticulous, and assembled with such care. I mean, I've described the chaos of production and development, but that is not a reflection of any individual or anything. It's just the way it was with this because of world events, and I think it's a testament to the crew and to everybody really that we were able to respond the way we did, and that I think it does give the show its unique personality. As you say, it's on the fault line of world events. But
Mhm.
you're right, authenticity is a challenge, and because it needs to be an action show, it needs to be a suspense show, it needs to hit certain kind of genre rhythms, but at the same time, we want it to feel authentic and realistic. We do have an amazing team of experts. We have Iranian experts, and we have Israeli experts and general intelligence and security experts. These are the coolest people. There's one particular person working at the moment on season 4 who I spent some time with last week in Athens. I won't name him. I don't know why I won't name him. I won't name him because
Don't
maybe
don't need
I
don't need.
shouldn't. But he's lovely, and he left Iran in 2019 and has family there, and he's our sort of resident Farsi speaker expert, the person that's always on set to advise on certain ways in which people communicate and cadences and inflections and so on. The other intelligence experts that we have, we talk a lot about the psychology of it. We talk a lot about the particularly cyber espionage, cyber security, because Tamar is principally a hacker. So one of the big challenges is trying to construct hacking sequences that are cinematic, but also realistic, because the
Mm.
realistic version probably isn't that cinematic, right? So
Hmm.
so we're always stretching and straining against that. In season 3, I think not in this episode, but maybe in the next one that's coming, there is Tamar performs a hack that I distinctly remember writing without checking to see if it was plausible. And then the script went to the hacker expert, and I was like, oh my God, if this doesn't check out, if we have to change this, I don't know what I'm going to do because I really love it. I think it works really well, but I don't, oh no, and it took about 3 days, and then I got a mysterious WhatsApp message that said the episode checks out hacking wise. So I was
Okay,
like,
good
oh my
job.
God, they can do that. So
Good
yeah,
job. Good
and,
job.
and, and obviously right now in Iran, Iran is perpetually in the news, but we have the important thing was that the adversary in the show, and I think Faraz is the adversary. There's a new adversary in season 4 as well as him. And there are other adversaries as well in season 3, right? There are other they Laranjani and those characters. The important thing is to humanize them because even bad guys, even people doing terrible things, it's not to say we sympathize with them or justify their behavior in any way, shape, or form. But the idea that they were sort of monolithic robots that don't have their own internal attempt at moral logic or whatever is just false. And so I think the show is very, very good and always has been from the first season, that showing that even the people that do the most terrible things and are part of a very oppressive and harmful and dangerous regime still think they're doing the right thing, still love somebody, still care about things, and the show takes great efforts to make sure that's the case and that comes across. So yeah, there's a whole team of people that help make it feel authentic and grounded in reality.
Yeah, that's good. I have a bone to pick with you guys. I know you weren't in season two, right? You didn't write anything in season two.
I did not know.
Okay, so I
So you
if
can't
I
do
yeah,
it.
because I reached out to Tony Saint. He didn't. I don't think he saw my message or anything like that. I wanted to interview him too, but
Okay.
I when they killed Tamar's boyfriend at the end of season two, that crushed me.
Yeah.
That crushed me. I
Really,
was like,
Milad.
yeah, Milan. Oh, that
Oh,
crushed me. I was like, what? Why? Why? But I get
yeah.
it. It's it now her motivation is a little different now. And I know I'm still waiting on how you guys are gonna take it there with regards to the Milan thing, because I know she hasn't forgotten that. She can't forget that. But we'll see how that goes.
No,
So the what I know what I want to know for right now is more to do with like independent filmmakers now, because I'm guessing the next thing for me is to try to go. Are you thinking of becoming a director, maybe directing a TV show,
me.
or yeah, or a movie or something like that?
Uh, Well, weirdly, my next project, I mean, Tehran season 4 rolls on for another couple of months, and then we're in post-production. So we're right now a lot of time is being spent working on the cuts of the first 4 episodes, which is great fun. But I'm about to start writing a movie. But I would not, in terms of directing, no, it's not been something I've ever really. I enjoy working with directors, and I enjoy seeing the world through. I enjoy sort of sharing my perspective, getting their perspective, talking through. I have quite a close relationship, I think, with everyone. It wasn't always the case when I started. Quite often, I wouldn't have that dynamic, but I've always had a good affinity and kind of closeness with my directors, and so I feel like we are very much on the same team. Now, I'm aware in movies there's a real sense it's a film by, right? Is the credit. Um, but I think that no, it's not. I'm a writer, I'm not a director. You direct, you do,
Yeah,
you want to do it all.
I direct, and I think for most of all the projects I've done, I mostly see myself as a writer, even though I do direct, but I've always seen myself mostly as a writer. But after I made this feature film, during the editing, while the I was like me and the editor were on a Zoom like this, and he was going through the editing with me. I think I learned a lot more about directing watching him edit the movie because than I ever did before. Because
Okay.
yeah, because now he was telling me that okay, you should have done this, you should have done that. That shot would have been better. This is a good shot that you did right
Well,
here. That's good and stuff like that. Go ahead.
That I identify with, and because I am an EP on most things I write, executive producer, which means I am involved in the edits. And the show that I did a show last year, a kind of side hustle show. Actually, talking about side hustles, I was an EP on a James Wan and supernatural anthology series for Netflix called True Haunting,
Hmm.
and long, whole different subject matter. But it was for me, it was interesting because it was James Wan, it was Atomic Monster, it was Raw in the UK, who are an amazing documentary company, and it was the chance to try something new,
Hmm.
but also to kind of exercise the camera chops that as you can tell, are very much a part of me. And last year, I was alone really on final post for that series. So I was there with the edit, I was there with the mix, I was there with the grade. It was just me and one other EP, and then it was Netflix, you know. And I loved that process, and I loved going through the kind of sound and the score and the cut and tuning it and trying to make everything we had as good as it could possibly be. To the extent where sometimes we'd reopen what we could, the offline edit, and we'd stitch something around slightly differently because we felt it would work better. And obviously, the rhythms are so important because we were dealing with suspense, and that was a very, very low budget show. So we were trying to squeeze every last drop we could out of what we've been able to shoot in Toronto. So yeah, the edit is I don't want to be a director, but I like being involved in the edit for sure.
Yeah. That
It's
yeah,
fun.
that
It's
that
the
was
most
a
fun part.
yeah, that was a great learning curve for me. I learned so much doing that editing that I was just like, okay, I know the type of director I'm going to be now moving forward. Um, with regard, but obviously, you gotta, I think starting off being a writer is the best way to get your credits in and stuff like that. So what I plan to do moving forward with regards to like maybe getting a manager here in the States and then trying to get into a writer's room is more like because I'm writing the sequel to my feature film, but I'm writing it as a series. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be 5 episodes.
Oh,
Yeah, and then I've got like two spin-offs of that those will be
is this the feature? Is this the feature you're releasing in May?
in May. Yes, I've got a sequel to it, but it's
Right,
going to be a series. It's going to be a five
right.
episode series as a sequel, and then I've got two spin-off series after that. They're just going to be limited series. They're not going to be like season two, season three, anything like that. It's just going to be one, just one limited series, two spin-offs of those. But then I also know that I just can't present to a manager just spy thrillers. I got to be able to present something, another pilot of like maybe it could be another thriller, maybe a political thriller or something like that, or something. So that's the way I'm looking at it. As my way of like, okay, maybe these don't get made by the powers that be. Maybe it's gonna be me that's still gonna make it, but at least there's something I gotta present to a manager to let them know that hey, I can write a series and maybe I should be able to be on a TV series that's already going. I think I would prefer to be starting off with a show that's starting off, not something that's already going on. Because like if I was called to do Tehran right now, I would be able to do it because it's a topic it's a spy thriller that I know. But it'll be a little hard for me because I'm like, okay, I've got to fit myself into the world and the tone and the language that it's already set, as opposed to like if Tehran was just starting today, we are the ones setting. I'm part of the setting up and stuff like that. How do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, no, I think it's a different skill set, certainly to be at the ground floor of something, whether you've instigated it or someone else has, for sure. And although I would say season three of Tehran, it does evolve the language of the show, and season four definitely evolves the language of the show, and it's been a real thrill to be able to contribute to that. But I think also something you said, you were talking about going out to a man. I mean, I love the fact you're basically building your own franchise and universe. I think that's really cool.
Mm,
But I think that it's a few things, right? I think again in the UK there's this concept of the voice, and I know what they mean, and I think I have a voice, and everyone thinks they have a voice, and so on. But to be honest, there's an awful lot of television that gets made that where it's interchangeable. Like you can you tell who wrote it? Is there anything specific? Unless I'm not entirely convinced. And also, it's a little bit like when someone goes to see a movie and they notice how beautifully photographed it was, it
mm,
means it wasn't a very good movie, right? Because you shouldn't notice that. You should just be so immersed in it, it shouldn't matter. You shouldn't be. watching anything, or I don't think anyway, and going, oh, that was a really good line written by the person that wrote this. You should just be feeling it and in it and on it all the time. But so what you talked about having different specs, different samples, and so on to show to managers. I think that there's your voice, there's your personality, your soul, your character, your impulses, the way you talk, the way you think, the way you structure things, the kind of things that occur to you that don't occur to anyone else, right?
Hmm.
You have that. You have your perspective of the world. That's your voice, and that comes across in every single thing you do, right? Even in a show like Tehran, which, as you say, is heavily formatted. There've been two seasons before the episodes this week and next week, there are things in there that have never been in it before because it's the way I see the world, right? And the way I
Mm.
think about the world and approach it. But at the same time, in addition to your voice, there's your skill, right? Because the voice and skill, I don't think they're the same thing, you know. And that skill, I don't think you can teach someone to have an interesting voice, right? They either do or they don't. They've either got things to say that sound like they are original or belong to them, or they don't. And I don't think everyone has a voice, everyone has their own something unique about them, but it doesn't always necessarily translate into a storytelling voice for television or film. I think
Mm.
that's just my opinion. But I think everyone can learn a degree of skill, right, in terms of how to structure, how to organize a story, whether you're doing 3 acts, 5 acts, whether you're definitely going to stick to the regimentation of having a hook at the end of every act and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's sometimes what happens with the kind of going on to other people's shows or not being there at the ground floor of something, but coming in on a second season or a third season or whatever it is. It's the skill set as much as anything initially that the voice might hook people and say, well, that voice could be good for us, or that might unlock something. Then what allows you to survive in that, because these things, man, it's very hard to convey how relentless once production starts, or once you start getting close to production, how a whole new set of considerations kick in. So yeah, voice gets you in because you're interesting and you're different and you've got something to say and they want to hear it and they think it could be useful to them. Skill set is partly what allows you to survive because you can deliver and they believe you can deliver. But then you get into psychological qualities, right? Resilience, fortitude. Can you survive it just emotionally? Can you survive doing 7 drafts of something and all the notes and the criticism and the moment of doubt that might come from someone with power that thinks, hey, that wasn't great, and maybe we need to replace this person. And you get through all that, and then an actor doesn't like it, right? And you've got to survive that somehow. And now, do you know what I mean? It's like there's
Yeah.
so many things, or the absolute classic. And there's what's that? There's a podcast, isn't there, called Hollywood Hell or Hollywood. It's about people's experiences anyway. And the classic one that always happens is that, particularly when it's always when you're most vulnerable and you have no power of your own and you don't have a super agent or anything like that, and you started and you've done really well and you survive 6 months and your episode or your thing is going to get made, and then the guy or girl that runs the network finally decides to read it, you know, just a week before it's going to roll, and they drop
Hmm.
a fucking nuclear bomb on it, right? You're one of two kinds of people there. You wilt, which would be perfectly legitimate. I've nearly been there myself, and you collapse and you crawl away and you can't cope because it is a lot of stress and it's because you're watching your dreams collapse, right? Or you dig deep and you go, you know what? I will take it. I will survive it. I will fight, but fight in my own quiet way. And I will fight. The way you fight is by solving the problem, right? And so it's all of that. I would, in summary, I think that I agree with you. It's probably more you know, creatively appealing initially, at least, to be at the ground floor of something, but it can still be immensely rewarding to come in second, third season, whatever. You need your voice. You need to have a real sense of voice and how you can deploy it in stories. You need a skill set, the competence to be able to write at pace, write in a way that people find engaging, clear, they understand it, they want to keep turning the page. And then you are going to need, and presumably if you've got that far, you've already got these qualities, but you're going to need way more than you think. Way more than even you needed before you started. Resilience and fortitude, the ability to just expect the unexpected, kind of figure that the worst may well happen and someone up top might read it and not like it. It's why you get 99% passes on everything you ever do. That you have to normalize that, right? As a writer,
Yeah.
as a creative.
Yeah.
Actors, I mean, God, imagine. So it's a tough thing to be a part of, but incredibly rewarding. So
Yeah. Well, uh, Honestly, to be honest with you, I came up with 10 questions. We didn't even touch any of them because we've gone so I don't even need those questions anymore because you've just laid out a whole lot of I feel like we can sit here and just talk all the time, but I know you got work to do and stuff like that. So you got a busy schedule and stuff like that. I think the final thing I wanted to just say is that so you're based in the UK. Where do you guys film Tehran? It's in Israel or somewhere in Europe.
It's in Athens. It's in
Athens.
Athens.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, yeah. So it's great. They're amazing crews, beautiful city, and yeah, we're there right now, and yeah, it has an incredible kind of soul, that city, and it passes. It resembles Tehran bizarrely. So yeah, it works very well.
That's good. That's good. Well, Mr. Allen, I truly appreciate you taking this time to to
You're
answer
very
my
well.
question, giving me so much knowledge. You've kind of like reconfirmed some things I already know, and you've just given me a lot of confidence to even push harder, considering that you started off as an independent filmmaker like I did too. And so you get the thing. What I'm going to do is that I know, obviously your business stuff like that. You haven't been able to watch the other films, but I'm going to send you because I do have my feature film on Vimeo with a passcode. I will send that to you, and I want you to watch it obviously way before it gets released. So I just want to get your feedback on it because it's also a spy thriller too. So, you may be like, oh, okay, this guy, knows the spy thriller world and stuff like that. So it's a spy thriller, but with a different take on it. And people were when I showed a lot of the people, they were like, that's so brave of you to do a spy thriller because for a spy thriller to be an independent film, you need a lot of money to do that. And the fact that we did it with less than $15,000 or something like that, they were like, yo, this is still
Wow.
a great story and still great production and stuff like that. So I'm gonna send that to you through the email. I would like to get your feedback.
Please
But
do. I would
honestly,
love to see it. Yeah,
yes. But Mr. Simon, thank you very much.
you're very
Hopefully we
welcome.
can stay in touch. Once it gets released, I mean, you're gonna watch it, but I'll keep you updated on my career and it's moving forward and stuff like that. Everything I'm doing, and I think you said the next episode is one you that. So the last episode I watched was when Peter Lorre's character like just turned and pointed the gun at Tamar, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like I thought he was the nuclear scientist looking for help. So I'm waiting for the next one tomorrow. I love twists and turns of spy
Great.
thrillers. I love that. So yeah,
Excellent.
I'll keep you up to date with my career and all everything that's going on. Hopefully we can stay in touch. Like I said, I tried to reach out to Mr. Tony
Cool.
Saint, but I never was never able to get in contact with him to get
I'll
more.
speak to him and I'll tell him to check his emails and stuff because
Yeah,
we
I'll
speak quite
no,
a
I think
lot.
I sent it to
So
his DM, maybe his DM on Instagram. But I'll send
ah,
you, yeah, I'll send you
he
this.
well, he's not on Instagram, I don't
He's
think.
not
I don't
Instagram.
think that's him.
That's
So
not.
it's kind
Oh, I must
I
have
don't
sent it
think
to the
so.
wrong person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Let me see. Tony Saint
Yeah.
that?
He's famously very not on Instagram. Very not on Instagram. He's a real social media skeptic. So, but I
Oh,
will. I'll tell him we spoke, and
yeah.
I'm sure he'll find time to
Yeah.
talk to you at some point if you're still interested.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I'm really interested. I'll send you this copy of this Zoom thing, so at least you have it, and maybe you want to show it to Tony Saint, so at least he sees that. Okay, let me talk to this guy and stuff like that. So yeah, and I think I think I also tried to reach out to the lady too. What's her name? She's a producer on the show. She was credited
Dana,
as
Dana Eden?
yeah, I think she's a writer on the show too.
Lee Gillett. Lee Gillett. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I can
Yeah,
talk to Lee.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So that's good.
All right. Well, look, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you, and let's stay in touch. And I would love to watch your film, so please send it to me.
I'm gonna send it to you and before through the emails, and then just let me know what you think. Thank you very much, sir. And I'm looking forward to watching the next
Cool.
episode. And like I said, let's just stay in touch and just see how things move along, sir. Thank you. I truly appreciate it.
Definitely. Bless you. See you
All right,
soon.
man.
Take
You
care.
too. Bye bye.
Bye.
Cheers.